Hi there, precious spirit, soul, divine being that you are. My topic. Will you ever be enough? You have no idea how that is such a basic program, not good enough, that is so widely distributed that you could almost count on it. Well, if the programming and you went through that same system that most everybody has gone through in one way or another, it's always that, well, I'm not good enough. If I'd been good enough, my mother would have been nicer to me. If I had been good enough, my dad would have never left me. In fact, when my daughter Suzanne, my dad and mom, her grandpa, my dad and mom got separated because they didn't really belong together. But anyway, so we just told Suzanne that, Papa went to live with his mom because he did, and everything. Well, this was a few months later. We were down at my mom's house, and my dad wasn't there, of course, because he's up at his mom's. But Suzanne, she was little. She was maybe about 4 years old. She said, "Mama, I know why Papa left, because I nagged him too much." I went, oh my goodness. Here's a little person. She took it all on herself, that if she'd been good enough, not nagged, Papa would still be there. And she loved Papa, and they got to be together after that and everything. It was wonderful. But still, the little person had just decided that if I had been good enough, he wouldn't have done that. And in counseling people who are in their 60s and 70s, some of them, besides people in their 20s and their 30s, still, like in relationship, is to say, well, I'm not good enough because the person won't do what they want them to do. Maybe the person doesn't want to stay married, or maybe the person wants to change the way the relationship is because maybe it's too needy and too clingy, or, there should be some changes made. It doesn't mean it's over. But what happens is we tend to personalize everything. Well, obviously, because we're there. But that program is you're not good enough. And that there's a group that is good enough because you're not good enough. So there has to be somebody who is good enough. And then they also believe that you're not good enough. So you're just basically no different than a cockroach or whatever it may be. And because you're not really divine, not really a human being, or sub level, and not in favor by the big deal God. But you see, none of that's true. And you can notice as you witness and you're around people, some of the most beautiful, kind-hearted, loving, generous, genius people that are out there and around us. So we want, as divine beings, to connect right now. And we're connecting with all divine beings. And divine being always works for the welfare of others because we know who we are. And we know that our happiness comes also from contribution and through giving and of our services, our products, or however that may be. So, well, you have to look at that program is you're not good enough. And if you were good enough, you would have had money. And if you were good enough, you would have been better with your money. And if you were good enough, so-and-so would never have left you and found somebody else. So you're going to have to try harder. And then what happens is we tend to try and make ourselves be the way our parents wanted us to be, and when they smiled when we were little, or we didn't want to have them frown and look mad at us because they're the ones giving us our food, and then how children are programmed at age 3, where the control structure are those people who live by, you might call it black magic in that sense, perversion. They will harm their own children at age 3, so that creates this separation where the very person that they love and feel close to will also be the meanie and punish them. Now, we've done that in our own lives as mothers and fathers because it was done to us. So we have these thoughts, well, if I'd been good enough, my mother would have been there all the time for me, and I would have been everything that the mother wanted, or the man or the woman in your life and your mate, and saying, well, I wasn't good enough, because then they found somebody else, or they had other friends besides me. And you know what happens with a psychopath or a sociopath in particular, and then a psychopath? They start separating you from everybody else that they do things for you, and then they keep your confidence, and it looks like you're your pal. Then they start to berate you and criticize you and put you down, and then by this time you feel you're so nothing and so powerless and so stupid and so ugly and so slobby and so terrible that nobody would want you out there. So you don't want to go anywhere, because you better stay here, even though the guy beats me up with the frying pan, or the girl, every day, but because at least I'm secure here, and I'm okay, and you're not okay at all. So this whole kind of a programming that always throws up all these other people in front of you and their lavish lifestyle, or supposedly what they've accomplished, when all PR and writing is basically just made up to control people's minds, and to get people to focus their money and their energy and their time on whatever they've been programmed to focus on that is valuable and important and will make them okay and good enough and fit in and be wanted by someone when you don't even want yourself. And all of it comes to give up self-hatred. And this self-hatred comes of self-pity. And someone I was talking with the other day was saying, I cry a lot. And well, yeah, because a lot of very sensitive people, their tears are tears of love. But I said, if you're crying out of self-pity, you better get over it, because there's nothing for you to have self-pity about. You are as powerful as anyone out there, and even more so when you know who you are, because you're not giving your power to thoughts and words and spelling and definitions and meanings that we've been given. Because this world is created by thought. Obviously, that's what everybody's trying to control, is other people's beliefs and thoughts. And their words. You can't say that, and you can't say that, and if you say this, you'll say that, because these are the laws and the rules. No, we have free speech. And more than that, and then when we say, well, then they're going to determine whether I get to be out there or not, or do this or not, is because little by little, people always keep giving their power away to somebody else, because they're not good enough. They don't know enough. They're not smart enough. They're not able to control their own lives. And then they believe all the stories. Yeah, the government's giving you this. No, the government took it away from you. What do you mean they gave it to you? It's supposed to be, this sort of a thing. So when you take your power back, you go, yeah, I am good enough. Why? Because I'm part of the divine. And everywhere I walk is holy ground. And God, my beloved, is right there with me. So you want to take a look. Will you ever be enough? And if that's your little racket that you're running all the time, if I had been enough, if I had changed, but see, I hate myself, because then I'm not good enough and nobody loves me, nobody wants me, because if they wanted me, it would show that I was okay because somebody else wanted me, but you don't even want yourself. And so you see how this whole system is set up so you never can win. You're always a loser, always behind the 8 ball, almost will win, but then your expectations, this is it, we're in love, it's all going good, and then all of a sudden somebody changes and it's not the same, and now it's different, and now I'm not good enough. It's like, stop that. That's a program. It has nothing to do with you. And when we really get that, we do our work. You do your inner work, self-satisfied. When you are self-satisfied, you're never alone, because you might not have anyone else around, but you're always with the divine. And wherever you are is holy ground, and you're always inspired, and you're always guided, and you're always directed by the divine. And you're always in the right place at the right time, and you always know what to do in the moment it is time to do it. So my work is in the mystic level, because that's our natural place. And then we can witness from our own state of being, as a self-satisfied divine being. And then your world is beautiful, because your inner world is beautiful. And when your inner world is beautiful, your outer world is beautiful. And yes, sometimes in the outer world, you'll see people and they say, well, you can't judge these people, because the mind is always judging like or dislike. So get over that. The mind does. And then it's stopping people from actually noticing that people are being cruel out there. And there is evil operating in the world, because they say, well, there is no evil or good or bad, that it's also in your mind. Because they're talking the absolute level, and they're saying that it's absolutely true that when you judge others, it's what you see what's in others is in you. No, it is not. Sometimes, but most of the time it is not. And when you have critical analysis, and you use spiritual logic and divine and spiritual reasoning, you see how it's flawed on all of these philosophies. They give you a little partial of truth. And when they give you that, and then the other thing that they will say, is that science will then tell you what is a religious experience, because we're going to give our power then to science, will be the ones who reign supreme, who will tell you if you have a spiritual relationship or not. It'll tell you all about you, how your mind functions, and none of it's correct at all. And so it's up to you. This is your life to live as you choose. And it's up to you how much you value yourself and your eternal existence. And the suffering that we've been going through, you do not need. It is not part of you. It is a distortion. It is a perversion in your own consciousness. So whatever you desire, you must have that already in your own consciousness of who you are. And that is the work, the reading, the study, the digging out of the old programs that have been sabotaging you and working against you and being parasitic and stealing your vital force and your energy, and putting you in a box and in a system, in a filing cabinet as a number 10302 or whatever you think you are. And then this world is run by numbers and by letters and words that have meanings that someone else gave us. And this is how you're operating in your life. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added. What is the kingdom? This is the dome on top of the crystal brain that is part of your physical manifesting machine, that's taking your consciousness and producing it through the crystal brain and spraying it out as your reality that you're now reacting to justify whatever your beliefs are, to show, yeah, you're a loser, oh boy, you're never lucky, no, you change that. When someone says, how are you? You say, fabulous, thank you for asking. And have a wonderful, wonderful eternal existence, you see. So take a nice deep breath. If you'd like to work with me for the counseling and teaching and mentoring, or come to retreats or workshops, just email me, Terry@terrycolewhittaker.com. I'll send you a flyer. I haven't put any new people. I'm starting to put some new people on my mailing list to send out to you. But if you want to contact me, then contact me, and then I'll put you on the mailing list, and I'll send you a flyer, and I would love to be there to serve you, because I know who you are, and all is possible, my dear one. Hugs. You're always enough. In fact, you're more than enough, and you always have enough, and you will always have enough, and enough to share and spare. That's who you are.